What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Study Hall here on TCGU University for the card game UniVersus. My name's Tam, and today I'm joined by
James
and Tyler.
What Study Hall is for the unenrolled is we've taken a bunch of your guys' UniVersus topics as well as some of our own, and we sit down and we discuss them for your amusement, entertainment, and knowledge. So with that said, before we jump into it, if you would like the show and you want to support us, please go out to patreon.com/TCGUniversity, and thank you so much. And you can support us out there financially. That would be really awesome. Get some exclusive perks. But if you don't have any bucks to toss, that's totally cool. Go out to youtube.com/TCGUniversity, and the podcast will be available a week later. I guess it's more like 3 days, something now. You get live access, you get exclusive whatever on Patreon. It's a week later everywhere else. As well as you can find it out on all of your podcast services around the globe. If we're not on a podcast service that you... I got it. If we're not on a podcast service that you listen to, please send us a message, let us know, and we will certainly get that accommodated. With that said... James, how's your week in UniVersus been?
I'm building some decks. I built some decks. They're pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
We're recording this podcast for the third time.
Oh, yeah, we are.
And I did some deck profiles, just normal stuff.
You were talking about some interactions, and I did actually
you led
wanna,
into it.
I did actually want to talk about those interactions. So the interactions that the decks that you have just recently made today for tomorrow at time of recording Campus Championship is one of them is Hiei, correct?
Yes.
Hiei has a static on him that says while he is ready, you may look at and use cards from your momentum as if they were in your hand.
Yes. And then the card we're talking about is Imperial Guard, which says respond, remove, ready one foundation. After your opponent's unblocked attack resolves, you may attempt to play one attack with a printed difficulty of 3 from your hand.
Damage of 3, and yes.
Yeah.
And so the ruling that we have gotten from
Technically.
From somebody higher up is that...
He put no. But
no.
Just my opinion, though.
Yeah. And you agree with him?
It was my initial thought, strictly on the fact that it says from your hand.
Yeah.
If it just said play an attack of 3 or less difficulty and being neutral, I would say yes. But it specifically states from your hand.
Right.
More of like a cost rather than free play.
Isn't it an effect, though?
I'm saying like the way it's worded is more of like a conditionary cost.
Okay.
More than rather than just, hey, play an attack.
Does he say as if it was?
It says as if it were in your hand. But this says specifically from your hand.
I feel like that extends Hiei's hand size to whatever his momentum is.
That's how I feel as well. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
With that said, I mean, you got a ruling from somebody with a title, so can't do anything about that. Tyler, how about you, man?
I have also built some decks.
Yeah.
I built a Sella deck that I will be playing for this next week's Campus Championship.
Is it hype?
I think it's fairly hype.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm so excited for it. I hope you win the whole thing.
It might just... I think it's just pretty okay. I think it's pretty basic Sella stuff. It's like the initial thoughts on what Sella would do and good stuff that would work with her. So I think it might not be the best deck there, but it will definitely showcase Sella's baseline.
I don't want to talk to you for 1 second. Sidebar.
I think it's a zoning.
Sidebar.
Okay.
What do you mean zoning?
Well, the momentum is private both sides.
Right.
Your hand's public private.
What?
Your hand's public private. On 99% of the game board, on like 99% of the game, you don't know what your momentum is.
Right.
It's private.
Well, doesn't he say that it's not?
No, he doesn't say it's not private.
He says you could look at it.
He says you're allowed to look at it. It doesn't make it public.
Well, neither is your hand.
But your hand's public to you.
But
It's
so is your
private to your
momentum.
opponent.
But
it doesn't make the zone private. It doesn't make the zone public to you. It just gives you the ability to look at it.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
You lost me. I'll trust you.
Well, it's like if you look...
Don't explain it. We're going to go ahead and move on.
Okay, your sidebar.
All right, my sidebar. I think that's just... All right, second sidebar. Yeah. I think that's the answer to James. Quote, don't explain it. We're just going to move on.
Sure.
All right? Sidebar.
Okay.
How do you feel about letting Tyler, for this one event, we only have 2 reverberate? Do you feel like him proxying the other 2 reverberate would be okay just for Sella?
I don't care. You're the content guy. You do
I
it.
feel like letting, because like we had to have bought 4 of that comic.
I'll
It was
go buy it.
exclusive. Are there? I mean, do they exist still?
Yeah, they still. I'm pretty sure they still exist.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can go check.
I think we should go check. How much are the comic?
$4, $5, something like that.
We should figure that out. Maybe if you're feeling crazy tomorrow. Do you have work tomorrow?
No.
Hell yeah. You don't have work tomorrow?
We talked about
Hell
this.
yeah.
No,
you
didn't.
wanted to.
Hell
Oh
yeah.
yeah, I
You
was like,
didn't
I
say
didn't want to
anything.
tell you because I know you just want to play Root all night. That's right.
True, I definitely want to play Root. No, but I very much feel like we should either let him proxy or
I don't
maybe
care.
maybe you take a quick little field trip.
I mean,
So
Yeah.
won't be in Tyler's car.
Sidebar's over. My apologies.
so it only has 2 reverberate in it. And I think I made the deck with that consideration in mind.
Yeah.
So
I'd
we'll just
have
keep
to-
it at 2. No,
well,
I'm done with that.
I'm also down. We
Or-
would have to.
Up that thing to 4 because it was insane but nutty bananas when I watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I did for this past week was the big thing that I did was I hosted a commentary session with Kevin Broberg on the UniVersus Canada locals. If you are interested in playing some online UniVersus for free every Saturday starting at noon Central Time, it played the entire tournament out in a 3-hour asterisk long period. Check down in the description down below and we will send you an invite, a permanent invite to the Discord link. And so that will exist forever as long as that Discord is active. And so you can jump into the tournaments. Steven wants these events to be as big as possible. It would be something really, really cool for him. He's taking and doing a huge service to the community. He is taking all of the prize support out of his own pocket. And so the best way to help support him is just go play in the fucking events.
Which Discord am I linking here?
I will link it. Canada UniVersus.
I just
Yeah.
meant, like, what am I writing down?
Yeah.
Does it?
Canada.
It's you have to pay to get in the tournament though.
You do not have to pay to get in the tournament. You pay $0 to enter this event, and whoever wins gets a mat, and he will ship it to you.
Okay.
Even if you're in the U.S.
So
and
the-
he lives in
okay,
Canada.
That is.
It costs $0 to play.
But the prize support is just the mat.
The prize support is a mat
Okay.
coming out of his own
Okay.
pocket.
Okay.
Yeah. Very, very cool of him to do. Super awesome that he is one putting on the event. I tried to do some commentary with Kevin Broberg, but as I'm positive my live viewers are seeing, our internet is dog. And so
like it's running right
we
now.
keep
real wood?
cutting out. Yes, we keep cutting out and cutting in. And so I think in total of like the 4.5, maybe 5 hours that we were live, I got like 3 hours worth of footage. It sucked. It absolutely sucked. It was just, I was just fighting with it the whole time to the point where I missed the biggest, best, coolest play of the whole tournament. And I'm super, super bummed about it. But, you know, c'est la vie. Maybe, I don't know if I'm going to do it this week just because I don't want to get people's hopes up and then drop them. That's just really lame of me. But as soon as we get better internet, either in this house or in the next house, we will for sure be doing that every single Saturday, working with them. So big shout outs. All the footage that I did get, I have given to Steven. So if he can piece anything together, it will be out on his YouTube channel. I just type in UniVersus Canada and you can find it all out there. Besides that, I made Campus Championship decks. I made Sub-Zero and was missing some cards, and I just realized that Byron had them for his Zhanghua deck.
Krita, I'm guessing Krita.
Yeah, I need one more Krita. We only had one in the box, and I pulled it out and went, my stud ratings blow? Shit, okay. And I actually think that deck is a bit of a powerhouse. Actually. I think that
He gets to seal things. He has the good ability of what you like about Tim Keefe.
yeah. I think that deck's kind of a powerhouse. Only because of Ice Dragon. Saying that I'm gonna commit and seal one card, and then commit and freeze 3 others on a card that you're not. If you block, you discard a card, and then I just pump you out all my foundations are a bunch of damage, which we'll talk about here in a bit.
Hey, sidebar. How do we feel about
Sidebar.
proxying Krita Yuga?
How do you feel about proxying Krita Yuga?
Yeah.
Do you need it too?
Yes.
How many?
2.
Byron's on his way over tonight to drop those cards back off,
Right.
and grab that webcam so that on the Final Fantasy podcast,
He'll have a
he's.
look. All right.
If you're interested in the Final Fantasy trading card game, there's a podcast here on the channel. Go look for it. I'm not linking anything. I already said I'm not linking it. You can write it down. It's not happening. But yeah, I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Maybe we just put Scylla and Sub-Zero on the opposite ends of the bracket and hope they don't run it through.
Yeah.
We'll hope. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into topic 1. And topic 1 of today is going to be, I want to talk about a comment that we got on our Discord. If you want your topic suggested on the show, like we said at the top, patreon.com/TCG University. Tyler's so rad. It is a long one, so strap in, pour up a drink, light a cigar. It's going to be nice. Mega Thunder Resort says this may be a bit of a broad...
Mega Thunderzord.
What did I say?
You just went through it real fast.
Mega Thunderzord. This may be a bit broad, but it can be paraphrased. Nah. But why do we play the
made the same
way
joke last
we
night.
play? AKA, when building decks and playing games, do you gravitate to specific characters because you like them, their power/tier level? Do you pick symbols because you like their identity and what they do, aka Earth flips, air gives speed, fire gives damage? Or do you have specific cards you build around, aka think Casa de Leviathan is fucking banana sandwich, and so I don't care which character or symbol I pick as long as I use that card? And so the question that we have here is that top one. Why do you play how you play? And so to change it up a little bit from last night, I want to really ask that question.
All right.
Why do you play the way that you play? Do you know how you play?
Do I? Yeah.
I think I know how I play.
Oh, I like that answer. That's probably the best answer. That's the answer that everybody should have at this table, but
Yeah.
some of us are going to have too big of heads to agree with that.
Right. Right. So I think how I play is
Ooh.
attacks are all aggressive, foundations are all defensive. And that's the whole plan.
Okay.
I guess I just go off of that. And figure it out as I build the deck.
Last night we talked mainly about when it comes to deck building, like what do you do? But
Yeah.
like he's really looking for like the whole coconut,
Yeah.
which is a common expression that I've made up just now. And so what I really want to sink my teeth into this whole coconut
Why
is
would you sink your teeth into a coconut? You couldn't have picked a better expression.
You ever tried coconut stuff before?
Have I ever tried to eat a whole
a
coconut?
whole coconut though. I get what you're saying. It's real fucked up. My poor chompers. But I want to talk about like the initial start of like deck building. If you say that all of your attacks are aggressive and all of your foundations are defensive, do you start with attacks, foundations, assets, actions, character? When you build a deck, what do you do?
Character, asset, actions, attacks, foundations.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why in that order?
So it usually goes off of an idea that I want. Say I want to play this. So I'll use the same example I used it before. I want to do some cool momentum stuff. So I'll pick either right now Faye or Tellum 2 Dot, and I'll see what cool momentum things I can do with that. I then have my character. I say, okay, chaos or good is probably the best symbol for doing this stuff. So for Tellum 2, I'll pick good, and now it's just build the deck, and I just go from left to right. It's attacks and assets are the first thing on the checklist for UFSultra.com. So I pick those first, go all the way down, see if there's anything, just throw in the staple stuff that's good. And then it's, all right, now let's pick all the attacks and see what I can do with all the attacks. So like Casa de Leviathan is real good, real crazy.
Yeah.
Is that up good?
No.
What symbol is that?
Casa de Leviathan. It has death, void, chaos.
Air.
Air. Yeah, instead of chaos, it has air. My apologies. Cervantes
I
2
guess-
Dot has chaos.
I guess I'm playing under air. That makes more sense. Okay. So I pick all the air stuff that I want.
All right.
I go and I pick all the cool attacks that I'm going to play in the deck. And then it's, okay, now let's just throw in all the staple foundations and maybe some stuff to help me out.
Okay. It's a very, very broad way to talk about it. We actually got a comment in the comments. What is, quote, how you play? Like philosophy of why you play the way you do, question mark. That's still poor question. That is still a poor question. what's a way of playing? And so here's actually where like my knowledge of articulating how people play the game is actually lacking. Here's where like I could quote unquote get learnt. I hear these buzzwords of like aggro, defense, tempo, combo, and like I can approximate what they mean. I still have no idea what the fuck a tempo deck is. I literally have no idea.
Jeddah.
Saying
Jeddah to me would be your tempo deck. A deck that likes to play this back and forth game, back and forth, and can change between going really slow and then the opportunity going really fast.
okay.
And just keeps up at the pace your opponent wants to play at.
Okay, what's the difference between like I've heard the words mid-range be thrown around, right? What's the difference between tempo and mid-range then?
Mid-range plays a game where you want to kill your opponent within that mid-range of the game. You don't want to go late game. You don't want to play early game. You're thriving in the middle range. Tempo is more of a play style where you keep up, like I said, with your opponent, with whether they're playing aggro or they're playing defensive, and you keep this pacing game. Where mid-range just plays to a certain point.
Interesting.
So tempo plays your opponent's game.
No, tempo just plays the game. Tempo plays this game at a set point most of the time with how your opponent plays, or it sets its own tempo, where it plays a tempo style of going back and forth between styles on what comes up.
Sure.
So like if your deck throws a bunch of attacks at you, your tempo is high. You're going high right now. But like later on, you might not draw anything, so you tempo and you grind out and play the defensive game.
I'm just not in love with like what you're saying, because like with everything that you're saying, it just says that like every deck should play tempo, because if you have like it's just the most flexible.
No, well, like it's flexible in the sense, but like your deck is built to do that. Your deck's built to go at any point. It could, like to me, this Yang Mina deck was a very tempo style deck. Mm-hmm. If you drew one meteor, you could draw like 5 cards and start slinging 10 damage attacks, and you could optionally choose to do that. Or you can go, I'll play this, build in a White House, have my defense against your Toguro brothers, your big shot Judies, and all your defensive actions. And I'll build 2, hold 2, and still have defensive plays for that turn. I can choose what pace I play at.
Okay. Yokohama, as the 4th member of this podcast, if we go back to your 4-quadrant theory, thank you so much for bringing that up. I love that. How about which quadrant I choose on how to execute my strategy on aggro, defense, game plan, disruption? I like this a lot, and it was actually a point that I was going to get to was the quadrant and bring that back up, because I think that is not the way to look at it, but is a way to look at it, and it's like a really easy way to look at it, right? The 4-quadrant idea is that every card should fall into these 4 zones of play style. You've got aggro cards, which are specifically made to kill my opponent. We've got defensive cards. They are specifically made to keep my vitality high and safe and make sure I can elongate the game however I need to. You have got game plan cards, which I have decided I'm putting the hammer down. Boom. These are called flow cards. They flow. These because game plan should be the overarching, like what does your deck want to do? That should be the word game plan. What's the game plan of the deck? Yeah. So flow cards are, how do I make my aggro cards work better, or how do I make my deck play the way that I want to stronger? So if you want to play a more defensive game, defensive, the proper noun D of like how you play the game. Some of the game plan cards could be things like Quest for a Hero's Sword, right? The pick up a 3 diff. Mm-hmm. That is a game plan, or that is a flow card, because it does not actively hurt my opponent. It does not actively defend my vitality. It is just a thing that makes my deck run a little smoother. And then you have disruption, which is the exact opposite of flow, which is how do I stop my opponent from making their flow work? Obviously, we want to flow like a river and then disrupt the water flow. Make sense? That's why we've picked the word flow now instead of game plan. Get it out of your brain. It's not game plan. It's flow. And so when it comes to that, which is like, man, this whole quadrant I want to explain in like the next topic when we talk about foundations, but so on and so forth. Yeah, whatever. Thanks, Yokohama, for spoiling it. when we talk about this, is there one of these 4 quadrants that you see yourself more caring about? Do you care inside of your game plan? If I made you pick one of those things that you as a player care about most, what do you care about? Aggro, defense, flow, disruption. What do you care about?
Mine's disruption.
Really? That's so interesting.
What would you pick for me?
I will get there.
So this is so tough for me because whenever I try to do the 4 quadrants thing,
Yeah.
I only have 2 quadrants.
Is this aggro defense?
Yes.
All right.
I always try to get more quadrants, but what it always turns into is I have aggro, I have defense, and then I have foundations that either ready themselves or help for when I check bad. Right? That is the 3rd quadrant I always fill up.
So
'Cause I don't think those are aggressive or defensive.
So here is where I'm want to, like, hopefully this gets to you.
Yeah.
Hell's Reach is 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100. I want to be even closer.
Sure.
A flow card.
Yeah.
Because it makes your game plan better.
Right.
If the point of putting that in the deck is, oh shit, I checked bad, it's a flow card because it says that you get to play more cool attack cards, but it itself does not kill my opponent better, right?
Right.
God of Thunder would be considered a flow card, but it can peek into aggro because it's +2 damage.
Right.
Right? But then if I forced you to put it into which camp, the question is which enhance on that card are you playing more?
Right.
+2 damage or Destroy Foundation?
Yeah.
If it's Destroy Foundation, it's a flow card.
Sure.
But realize that card could also be used as defense because, I mean, readying up a foundation is also good on block because of how the mechanics of the game work.
Yeah.
Right?
He says, "Ask why, Tam."
I'm not sure what to ask why. So my question is whenever you talk about these 4 spots, do you care more about killing your opponent? Do you care more about if your deck is good at killing your opponent? Do you care more about your deck surviving your opponent's onslaught? Do you care more about your deck doing the cool thing it wants to do and maybe it doesn't kill my opponent? Maybe it doesn't protect my life? Or do you care about your opponent's deck not working?
I guess it would be a cool thing that wants to do that maybe doesn't kill my opponent or protect my life.
So from there, your deck, you should be a flow player,
Sure.
which means that you should be wanting to build up these crazy big combos and hopefully spirit bomb people, which is exactly what the Fey deck is, right?
Yeah. Yes.
It's not an aggro deck. It's not, oh, I drew 7 attacks on turn 2, and now I can successfully kill you because that's how my deck wants to work.
Yeah.
I'm so focused on how quickly can I push damage out. Or at the same time, it's not like, oh, I want to build out the super big defense. It's not I don't want to turn my opponent's whole character off, right? And so my question is, at that point, why do you like to play that way? Why do you feel that flow is the direction you as a player want to go?
I think it's fun.
That is 100% a totally valid
I'm
and
just trying to
beautiful
think about
reason.
why-
No. That is a super good reason.
Right. If now that you have put it in the terms of it's my Fey deck, it just seems like it's the
Okay, get shit done.
It's the most fun way to play. It's I have a goal in mind of how my deck is going to work, and implementing that is the best part about this game. I really hate it when people play disruption because I'm trying to do cool shit.
Yeah.
And you're saying no, and that's very disheartening. I hate that.
Yeah.
So I guess that's just it. Is that I want to do cool shit because it's fun to do cool shit.
Okay, so whenever you, as Tyler Clark, and we'll get to you in a minute, young man, you sit right there and you wait your turn. So whenever you are trying to play this cool thing, right? If I forced you, so our number one priority is flow. You want your 60 card deck to work,
right?
Which is straight up honestly, probably why you're so stuck on this idea of I have to play 20 attacks.
Yeah.
Because
ratios.
That's the number to quote unquote make it work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is like its own podcast. But if you had to pick the next most important thing, do you care about your opponent not playing the game? Do you care about killing them? Do you care about
Killing them.
You care about killing them.
Yes.
You want to make sure that your combo works.
Yeah.
And the second goal is to kill them.
Yep. Third goal is to not die. Fourth goal is disruption.
Perfect. I totally agree with you because of how I look at your decks. You don't play disruption whatsoever.
Absolutely.
You play no disruption.
I hate disruption.
You think
It's lame.
you sit there and you let your opponent do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, it's fun.
Cool combo, my guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hit me in the face again.
And so what we have just done, ladies and gentlemen, is using this quadrant theory. We have figured out the four main, the order in which that you should prioritize your deck. And it is just that. It is, hey, what am I trying to do? What are the attacks that are going to kill them? What's going to keep me alive to make sure I can play those attacks? And then I guess I don't really care about disruption. Like this fourth one is like should be so little inside of your deck.
Yeah.
Which is like, hey, your Akuma deck that you played was really, really good at what it wanted to do.
Yeah.
It was a little flipped on the flow and aggro. Because that deck just like wanted to fucking kill people.
Sure.
That deck was super, but it certainly went aggro, flow, defense, disruption, and the only disruption that existed in the thing was Akuma.
Yeah.
But luckily he's we have him every turn. So
Right.
it was just enough. Which is like we'll get back to it. This could be like
Hey,
the whole.
sidebar?
This could be the whole
Sidebar?
Oh, sidebar. Yeah, sidebar. Real quick.
How am I supposed to timestamp this? We technically started the podcast somewhere at like 46, 50 minutes.
We'll just fucking figure it out.
Whatever. I guess. Fucking leave the sheet. Give me the topics, and I'll
I'll just
figure out
write
the
down what time
timestamp.
it is because I have no idea.
Sure.
I noticed it and I went, "There's no way we've been talking about this one topic for an hour." Oh yeah, that's right. We started this
Here, well,
podcast
true,
at
true,
50
true.
minutes.
I'll give sidebar. I'll give a little
Sidebar,
peek
sidebar,
behind
sidebar.
the kimono.
Okay.
Now we just make the cut
That's
at
a really
when
weird.
the podcast starts, and you just now go to the spot where the next one is. Make the cut, and then delete everything afterwards.
I love it.
There you go.
Okay. Sidebar, Tyler.
Right?
How
don't
do you
know
expect
how
me to do that?
I don't know.
Just don't worry about it. Just write down what the topics are, and I'll figure it out.
Topic one was what?
Why do you think you're disruption, buddy?
Why do you think I'm disruption?
Yeah.
Everything I want to play always says do something weird. I am the most chaos player that doesn't play chaos. I like
Chaos,
things-
the similar chaos, the philosophy.
both. I am the most. I want something to happen that changes the entire game state of where it is.
Well, I don't think that's
Eva, draw a card.
I don't think that's
Changes
necessarily.
the entire turn.
I don't think that's necessarily chaos. Like it's so.
Not like- I
it's
just
tough
mean like-
because we've got both chaos the symbol and chaos like the idea, right?
I like chaos. The idea you have for like. The
I think
symbol
you like
and
big
stuff.
plays. I think you like big game-changing plays as opposed to
like
small
changing game
incremental advantage.
Yeah,
Right?
I like game states that change, even if you like it's not noticeable. Like Eva, take damage, draw a card.
Okay.
That changed my entire hand size, your entire game plan because you have no clue what I drew.
Mm-hmm.
I could have set that up. I could have done a bunch of things. Plant barrier, take that damage, draw the card I wanted. Could do a bunch of things to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Asimov Katarina. I'll secret stash, dump a bunch of cards, ready cool pieces that disrupt you already, and just double down on it. Then we got like Sophidia. I'll block, commit part of your staging area. Play reversal. You have to deal with this now. It's going to commit most of your staging area again. Just what I like.
So here's how I feel. I actually think that sorry, nice guy. Hobbs. I actually think that you are a defensive player first, and then a disruption player second. But here's why. You are so adamant that quote there's not enough speed hate in the game.
Yeah.
A disruption player doesn't care about speed hate. A disruption player wants my opponent's turn to be over, not about dealing with individual attacks.
Yeah.
Right?
Speed hate's how I deal with it.
And 9 times out of 10, when it comes to disruption, like one of the best disruption tools in the game is Breaker. Breaker or something along those lines like Keiko's Aid or something like that, right?
I think Sophidia block and stun a bunch.
Correct. And that's why the character is perfect for you. It's not necessarily amazing on your turn, right? On your turn, it's a big bonus. Yeah. But when you play that character best, it's on your turn as you are playing defensive.
So this is the weirdest thing in the world. We've talked about the same topic on all 3 of the podcasts this month.
Okay.
That I am on.
Okay.
We talked about it on Final Fantasy and White Shorts this week.
I don't care about either of those games on
I'm
this
just saying,
podcast.
like, so I'm about to say the same thing I've said on both the Final Fantasy and the White Shorts podcast, which is my favorite thing to my favorite thing to do in my play style of how I like to play.
Yes.
Is to defensively just break you down.
That is disruption.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Okay, all right.
I want to defensively break you down. I want to play defense so aggressively that it leaves you with no options. It makes you hate playing offense.
Let's change your verbiage, because I did hear you say this on another podcast, and I rolled my eyes because you're just mixing the words and you're confusing people.
Sure.
Instead of using the word aggressive, can you say the word optimally? You want to play your defense so optimally that you frustrate them.
I like aggressive for that term. I want my defense to feel like it's in your face. I want it to.
Okay.
I want it to be aggressively to the point to where you play a fatality, and like I seal it and block and do nothing, even though I know your turn's gonna be over. I want to aggressively put you into a corner for no reason, to just mind games, basically, just for no reason, defensively break you down.
Let me think. Let me bring it in.
Sure.
Because that's so
Dumb.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's. I don't think that's true at all. I think that's so. Like the example that you gave me is such a corner case, right?
Yeah, that was just the idea I thought of in my head. Is just like basically in the most disrespectful way, but playing the game the way it is to create the mind game of, yeah, I didn't need to do this, but like, fuck you. Breaker 4, end your turn. You weren't even playing anything anyways. Like, I did something that just already ended their turn, but I breakered them to do nothing for anyways. Just to do it.
So, understandably so, you're playing Sophidia, very good at that, committing a bunch of cards, taking this partial damage, doing that. Is there another character inside of this disruption plan that catches your fancy, right?
Like,
or is there another card or game style? So, like, going back all the way to the original topic, right?
Yeah.
How do you figure out what you do? So if you know as a player you want to demolish them on their turn, can you give me a different example? How so?
Because my Akuma played very defensively. We played Fade, we played Cage Fighter, Most Trusted Assassin. Our entire game plan was let you hit me sometimes, get myself close enough into desperation, I can just launch myself there and backswing you with like Coffee Sama's on Desperation, Doshodo's are a Desperation 3, do all the cool stuff, but still have the ability to go, cool, I'll block Breaker 2. Oh, you played through the Breaker? Cool, I'll fade it back to your hand. You play your next card, I'll flip Fade, -2 again. Oh, did you pass the next one? I'll Cage Fighter, fail it. Just every single time, just defensively just grind you down. To the point where I think a lot of people hate playing Akuma. But I mean, Akuma does that on his own.
True. I can agree with that. I would love to, if you'd let me, tinker in your mind a little more, but I'm not positive where to continue and go on from here. Is that fair? Mm-hmm. Let me think on it. Because I want to dive into me, because honestly, I want you guys, instead of me trying to tell what I want, how do I play? If we use the 4-quadrant theory of aggro, defense, flow, disruption, what's my number one? What do you think?
Flow. I think it's 100% flow.
Sure.
You're cool combo decks for the life of you. I'll play Tengu deck, combo deck, Scorch Wheel deck.
You don't think that's aggressive?
So like your second one would be aggressive for me.
But like the thing is I feel like, as much as I hate it, I feel like I can play dumb aggro decks really well.
Oh yeah. I'm not saying you're not.
Like really, really well. Even to the point of like, I think
that's why I said your second one's that.
I think
like
Scorpion's a dumb aggro deck, the way that I played it.
Yeah, but like the way you play it is also like you set yourself up to be put into desperation. I think that's more of like a flow idea too. Flow idea. It's just like you plan to put yourself at that point.
Yeah.
To where you put yourself in a zone to where you can then put yourself in desperation. You don't play a game where you just like, so like for me, like if you wanted to play dumb aggro Scorpion, it'd be I played an attack and I killed myself for 10 on one attack, and then on my second attack, hit myself for 10, putting myself at 8 again, putting myself at desperation, and then dumb play attacks.
Okay.
Just like I went from 28 to desperation so I could dumb aggro you. And I don't see you doing that. I see you strategically putting yourself in that spot. And then like your other decks you play, CA was just a dumb combo deck that led into an aggressive because it's Scorch Will, Tengu Dive, and whatnot. And then you have Dr. Wily. It's a combo deck. It's what it's built as. You got, in my opinion, Jeddah, which is a disruption flow deck, in my opinion.
Disruption is the main. Yeah,
Disruption's the main, Flow's the second.
Straight up, Disruption was the main point of that
and
deck.
then Flow's the second because you build your deck around that system.
This is where I had trouble. This is why I just said sure, because I want to say disruption, just because I think so. Like when he was explaining tempo as what it is,
Sure.
that is what I see you as to a T, or see what you want to do, right? So I would consider that to be more disruption than flow, just because part of playing tempo is to disrupt.
For sure.
So that is I would maybe put you in disruption.
I think we could say that that tempo decks should focus more on flow disruption than aggro defense.
Yeah,
that
for sure.
that is the point of
They're pace
playing
decks.
the tempo. Is I need to make sure that my thing is working, and then make sure that your thing is not working. It is not necessarily about, hey, how can I make this missile launcher as big and as scary as possible, right? Which is where like I'm not in love with the Sangmina example, but like I could understand squinting your eyes. I could see it, right?
But it has like a bunch of breaker twos. Xiangmina removes an attack.
Yeah.
Like it has that subtle flip. You can
Sure, squinting
switch
your
you can
eyes.
flip.
Yeah, I could see it.
It was the best thing I had in my mind at the time because I don't think Jeddah's can play a total like tempo deck, tempo style.
So I disagree with you only because of the fact that I think Chris Nixon played his deck was actually aggro and then disruption and then flow defense. That's the way that he played his deck at Worlds, and he did significantly better than I did. He did way better than I did.
Yeah, but you suck.
But he was playing. I mean, this is where we get into the card choices of he was playing Capsules app, and I refused to play that card because I didn't like that card. When I
played it for too long.
when I tested it, I didn't like it inside of Jeddah. It might be the fact that that card does not, get +2 speed and destroy a foundation whenever it hits, and you get to pick it up every turn. I mean, that might be it. Well, we'll be honest.
Maybe it's because you retired the old character.
Yeah, maybe. But like this is. So let's take a step back. I'm so happy that we had this podcast. Thank you so much, Yokohama, for helping me out with this.
I have an idea.
I had a what?
I have an idea who it is now.
So, he's just a patron. That's all it is.
Just a patron.
Obviously. So
I figured it out when I started.
So with this, I wanted to, and I actually had this all set up to do so. I wanted to take the top decks from the PTCs and put them into this 4 chart and look at the decks and be like, hey, this is what this deck wants to do. So any of you nerds out there who want to net deck this, and you're going to go play this deck, and you're going to play this Timmy 2-dot deck, or even better yet, you're going to play this Cassandra deck that Mark Tyner won at Worlds as an aggro deck, you're fucking wrong. Because the first thing that Cassandra deck, its main focus was defense. Because it didn't give a fuck. Its last stat was aggro.
I'd say its second's probably flow.
It's I think actually, yeah. I mean, yeah.
You have a game.
Defense, flow, because if you can get your engine to work correctly, then the aggro just happens, right? It's just accident. Oh no, I accidentally found these.
Right.
Oh,
Your flow plan is to disrupt your.
third is disruption, and then fourth is
Aggro.
And so with that in mind, you have to play against that deck differently.
Yeah.
You can't play against that deck like it's a dumb aggro deck, which is like, this is where like this idea like is so neat, so cool. But my plan was to sit down and like I actually had it all laid out for, this will tell you how far back I had this idea. It was when Rob Schneider won a PTC with Tornaloose. Way back, but I didn't quite have the concept in my brain. I had everything laid out, but then I like sat down to record and went, I'm not positive I'm going to get the point across that I wanted to, and so I was afraid that and time. I was afraid I was just not going to do it a service. But now that like we've had this conversation, man, I love this podcast so much. Now that I've had this conversation, it's like helped me grow as a player and a content creator. Because now I can sit down and look at my decks in a slightly different way of like, what am I trying to do? What is the goal? That's so cool. That's so
Hey,
sidebar without Tyler.
Sure, sidebar for all of us.
All right. Well, we can't have a sidebar with all three of us.
Sure, sidebar with
All
me.
right, fuck Tyler.
What the fuck's the title of this podcast?
The title of this podcast?
I'm so lost. I know what we're talking about, but I forgot what the original topic was.
Actually, the title of the podcast is retro format, so we have to eventually get to retro. Yeah.
I'll put that as topic 3. I don't even know what topic 1 is.
Sidebar's done.
But what's topic 1?
This was topic 1, and we're only going to get 2 topics today.
What was it? That was the question.
How do you play?
How do you play?
How do you play? So let's take it all the way back to the top. All right. Can I read that comment one more time? I want to make sure that we didn't miss anything. Is that fair?
Yes. Let me go find it again.
So we have used this 4 quadrant theory to figure out how you at home can break down what do you care about inside of the game. Aggro, defense, flow, disruption. From there, now that you as a player understand what it is that you want, how do you go about accomplishing this goal? Right? I'm going to read this silent to myself as you guys figure out how do you accomplish the goal. You figure out what you want. How do you accomplish it?
You have to build cards around those things. If you think you're a disruption player, you build your deck around disruption. You build your deck with the intent of using disruption cards, not around disruption. But because you build your decks around what you should build them around. But like more of like, if you think you want to disrupt people, play more disruption cards than you would like flow cards. Let your deck work the way it wants to, but instead of putting in pieces to consistently increase the flow, use it to increase your disruption.
I agree with you, but I think there's one step prior.
Okay.
And that is, and this is such a lame step.
Choose your character.
And this is such a lame step to like have to bring up, but because we're an educational podcast, we have to. You have to understand the role of each card and what its possibilities are. Right? So, understanding that X card fits inside of these, this one card can fit inside these 3 quadrants is good. To the point where, we used the example earlier of Hell's Reach is either a flow card or a defensive card. Those are the only 2 options it has. That card does not kill my opponent better, and that card does not stop my opponent from playing cards. That or stop their game plan from happening, whether drawing or so on and so forth. It is strictly I can play more cards or I can block better and keep my life high. On my turn, it is a flow card. On their turn, it's a defense card. And so once you understand like, hey, what are all of my options when it comes to like playing the game, right? To the point where it actually just struck me now. I thought, making sure I didn't fuck anything up. Okay, I thought that Orphan Alchemist was a flow card and a disruptive card, but it's actually just a flow card and a flow card. Both of those abilities are just flow.
Yeah, I guess because anti-disruption would be flow.
Correct. So it's stopping my opponent from doing things, and then I guess if we wanted to, it is flow, and defense. Because I can flip and look at the top card of my deck on my opponent's turn.
Sure.
So I can make a block happen or so on and so forth.
And you also have to realize it's like the realm of possibility, the scope of possibilities for like what a card can do also changes depending on your character.
Correct, and depending on other cards inside of your deck.
Yeah,
which
so
is like where that is where the mark of a true good seasoned tenured what's another word for old deck builder veteran thank you can outshine deck building wise to the young pups is because when they look at a card, they instantly, without even thinking about it, can place it in these quadrants. Mm-hmm. Like not accidentally, subconsciously. That's a way better word choice than accidentally. Oh, no. How do these flow cards get here?
I don't remember in my old age.
But yeah, I think when it comes to like,
you guys remember the Grey Wars?
I fought honorably in the Grey Wars. Do you see this purple heart? I died doing Navos Felicia deck. All right. Sorry. I never did. I never really fought that deck very much.
I got fucked up
not
by
a-
the general of Navos Felicia deck.
He should be tried for war crimes. that Canadian. Anywho, I think Thunderzord, Mega Thunderzord.
Thunderzord.
Sorry, I forgot the adjective.
Enter like 3 tries.
Mega Thunderzord. I think the big thing when it comes to how do you deck build is you need to understand you. Now that you've heard how we play and our thought process, and anybody out there listening, do a little soul searching, right? Figure out of these 4 quadrants. You can use our system. You can find your own system. I would love to hear it, and leave a comment down below. How do you categorize? How do you put yourself in these, hilariously, I'll call it boxes? And then from there, prioritize how do you want to accomplish these 4 goals. I want to play Disruption. Hey, one of the best Disruption cards in the game, Casa de Leviathan, because it's Banana Sandwich and should go in every deck that it can. Because it is so free at being Disruption. It turns all of your momentum into a beautiful Disruption card. Or it turns it into an aggro card, because they just burn 2 Vitality for free. Right?
Yeah.
And it's 7 damage for no
It turns into
reason.
a flow card by giving you 2 momentum.
Is it 7 damage or 7 speed? This is 7 speed.
7
speed for 5.
7 for 5. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Fast as fuck.
It's really good Fidelity. And so like there's an example of like, I want to play around this thing, but if you want to play a defensive character, then your first thought shouldn't be, man, how do I stuff Downward Spiral in this deck? Because that is not what that card's
defensive game plan
main
is to
job.
discard your opponent's hand.
What?
Unless your game plan is to discard your opponent's hand.
Discarding my opponent's hand is exclusively an aggressive thing to do. It is either aggressive or disruptive. It is not defensive.
Sure.
It cannot be defensive. Discarding my opponent's hand cannot be defensive. Asterisks. I'm painting with a real broad brush here. Right?
Yeah.
So like, if for it to be defensive, it'd have to be so extreme that you discard 6 cards out of their hand on their turn.
Correct.
Or if you just discard the rest of the cards in their hand.
Yeah. But what
6 would be the
actually
rest.
happens is you discard 1 or 2, and then they have to end their turn because they will either not have any more aggression or not have any more defense.
Which is disruption.
Yeah.
Hey, fucking knock it off. I want to play the game.
Right.
I don't know how you're playing fucking Downward Spiral on your poster, but
Wait until this campus championship, my guy.
you about to play Downward Spiral on my turn?
I don't know how that's possible.
It's the easiest thing in the whole wide world. I'm playing Void.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
God damn it.
I see.
He's,
It's in my Voidkin deck too.
Hey, you just block reversal, race against time, the Downward Spiral, and it's a 4 damage attack for no fucking
you
reason.
could also
Did you know that? Did you know
could
that?
tap if it's the only thing we discard. I'll give this the abilities.
Right. Correct. You're absolutely right. Did you know that Amy has a gauge reversal
Yeah.
inside of my Dejanet deck?
Yeah, that's four difficulty.
Insane. Insane.
Yeah.
Have fun with that,
Yeah.
asshole.
Right.
That thing also has stun too if you don't want to play
It
the
certainly
Downward Spiral.
does, doesn't it? Yes, it
That
does.
thing's nuts.
Yeah.
That
It's
thing's a really good reversal, and they threw Gauge on it.
Gauge 3. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you
Sidebar.
can't partial.
Why are all the new gauge attacks insane?
I don't know about all.
I think
Because
it's
they want you to play them on every single character.
Tyler, you're not in this conversation. This is a sidebar. No. They took all. I think the reason all the gauge cards are so insane is because of all the 7th cross cards. They
keep
just
saying
weren't
all,
very
and I
good.
don't think that's a correct
All the
statement.
7th cross cards blow when it comes to gauge. They all suck. They're all too fair. And then
don't think
they came out with the Yu Yu Hakusho stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to you anymore. Sidebar about this.
Yeah.
So all of the 7th cross cards, the gauge cards,
Yeah.
they're just fair, right? And so they had to just make really overpowered gauge stuff.
Right.
I never want
So
to
that
play
you
a
can play
7th
them in
cross
any
card.
character.
Right. I never want to play a 7th cross card. I cut in my freaking Dejanet deck. I cut Affliction to a 2 of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Because I'm just tired of that thing getting blocked and like not being good.
I think the 2 good cage attacks are Affliction and Porgas Fang?
He's wrong.
Yes.
Huh.
You want to just bring that sidebar back over here?
Man, I'm thinking about it. I think this might be a topic for another day. Anywho, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a small commercial break. We've been talking about this for 1,000 years, and we don't have an active working timer at the moment. So, with that said, we'll be back. Cards Custom Builds. Are you into cosplay? Looking to get into cosplay? Do you want to show up to events dressed as your favorite character? Well, then Cards Custom Build can help. Cards Custom Build creates everything from cosplay accessories like props, trinkets, or weaponry, all the way up to full-blown costumes. Do you want to make a perfectly flowing cloth, or maybe want rigid battle armor? Cards Custom Build has you covered. The work is guaranteed to make you the talk of the con. So go over to Cards Custom Build on either Facebook or on their Etsy account. Links will be in the description down below. And make sure you mention TCGU University to get 5% off your entire order. We're also sponsored by InkedGaming.com. Are you looking to get a custom playmat? Well, then we suggest you check out InkedGaming.com. They have custom playmats, dice bags, mouse pads, and so much more. They even recently added a stitch option to their playmat and mouse pads as well. Stop those frayed edges from happening. Inked Gaming lets you play your game with your style. And if you want to get 10% off of your entire order, use the code TCG University, all caps, no spaces at checkout, and help support us by customizing your game to your style. And lastly, the show is brought to you by Dex Protection. Dex Protection is on a never-ending pursuit to create the highest quality storage and protection accessories. Their design and innovation comes from die-hard gamers and collectors just like you. They're constantly taking in feedback from their customers, and they have no plans to stop their innovations or their drive to refine the products until they're recognized as a leader in their industry. They make terrific products, all with the avid gamer and collector in mind. So go ahead and check them out. The link will be in the description down below. I'd already back from the ads. Guys, I want to talk about the retro format. We named
more of a lighthearted topic now.
Yeah. Well, if it's any consolation of how it went last night, I'm sure it will not be lighthearted.
Just continue with the sidebar bit.
We went into it a little bit last night, and so we've kind of gotten our emotional feelings out. Now this is going to be a little more quote unquote educational. I do want to bring up your concerns, but I don't want to spend 15 minutes like we did last night.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. I love it. Shake on it.
I'm not doing that.
Good call. Quarantine. Social distancing. No shakes.
I'm not 6 feet away. I don't feel safe. Where's my mask?
I've been sneezing all day. So,
I mean, I have too.
Here
but that's more of an allergy.
Is what the retro format is. Jasco, in these, we'll use the word interesting times.
You don't like the trying
Have decided what?
You don't like trying times?
No, that sounds very negative. In these interesting times, have decided to spice up and show their hand a little of their plans for the future. As you do, they cannot show specific cards from their hand because of the interesting events that are happening, as well as legal issues.
Game rules.
Game rules?
Yeah.
Because it's a private zone. Shut up. All right. Well, it's public to you.
Well, they're basically playing a game. They're playing the game of business. And as a business, they're not allowed.
You got any more quips for me, buddy? So retro is going to be a format that they're trying to put into the game, and its entire goal, its entire job is to take and revitalize past sets into a cohesive thought. So if retro exists, it will be the third format that we will have active inside of Jasco's tournament career. We will have standard, which is the most current 10 sets. We will have the My Hero Academia format, which will be exclusively My Hero branded cards, and then we will have retro. I do not believe there are any plans for Turbo to exist. That is a separate podcast. I want to talk about exclusively retro. I believe, will you mark down the time for me? I believe that the biggest thing with the retro format, did we lose it?
Probably.
Yeah. The biggest thing with the retro format is the fact that they are deciding to cut off the KOF set. They've decided we do not wish to have the KOF set in here because of a distribution issue. There was not enough of that printed for it to be possible for every single person in the game to have an okay shot at getting the quantity needed. Man, I tried to say quality 14 times because I read it. There's not enough product for the players to get to play a good podcast, right? And so my question is how do you feel about the retro format as a whole? How do you want tournament structures to work. Give me like the real nitty gritty of like what's retro. Tell me that.
Retro's just gonna be Red Horizon. Only Red Horizon.
So currently it's not.
Oh yeah.
And so we have to talk about that, and then we can talk about the doomsday of later. Fair?
I think it's gonna be on site.
I don't know what that means. Explain it to me.
It's gonna be on releases. Like it's gonna be this like the moment it happens. All right, we'll get to it.
I just don't understand any of the words you said. Tyler, how do you feel about retro?
I think it is a cool idea. I would like it if it worked out.
Okay.
I don't know what else I can say about it further than that. I just want it to work out because I think it's cool. I think it's cool for new players. I think it is cool for older players. I think if it is done right, it could be very successful.
I agree with you. I do believe that it is 100% based on how Jasco handles it. Actually, I think the ball is completely in their court, and just like with the My Hero format, and honestly, standard, the ball's in your court, Jasco. If you handle it correctly, it's going to be fantastic. I think the reason that I am supportive of retro is the same reason that I'm supportive of so many different versions of poker. Poker is played with 52 unique cards, sometimes 54, and you can play in so many different ways. And their cards, when laid down on the table, don't do shit. We have thousands of cards in our game, and when we lay them down, they do shit. And so being able to open that up and change the landscape of how a meta exists inside of UniVersus and really let we start getting into, man, I've certainly been drinking, getting into artsy stuff, and letting the players really open up their creative spot and find these fun, let it flow for sure. We will see more types of decks exist, things that the playtesters couldn't have even thought of, because I mean there's too many cards now. There's more eyes on it than there are whatever, right? And so we let it out in the wild, and then the game kind of like goes in a direction. I think that's so interesting because of it's not what Jasco intended. It is something unique and special. I think that's like the beauty of retro, in my opinion. Logistically, I think it's a little messed up, but sure. I think like the idea, like if, as I said on the previous podcast, if I had a magic lamp and I used one of my wishes and said that we got KOF in, I think it would actually be like a really fun, engaging, interesting format for deck builders and honestly for deck pilots, because the power level of everything is raised up because the water level has risen because there's just more words in the game. If there's more words and more numbers and more text and more options, then the game are already very differed. I don't want to use the word varied because I'm using the word vary. Our already quite varied game
Use very.
Well, I don't want to use very. Our already quite varied game is now opened up even further. That is the point I'm trying to make, and I think that's an interesting idea to sit behind. But with that said, KOF is not going to be in it, and we have some issues.
Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't put KOF in it, distribution or not. You can't get most of the sets that's going to be in extended. You can get Red Horizon and Red Horizon 2. Mm-hmm. You can probably still get Indines right now, and along with. I guess at this point there'll be Battle for Power by the time this probably happens, and you'll be able to get what's the set I'm thinking of? Oh, Mega Man 10s, because I think they still have some of those, but I think everything else is sold out. And Platinum, I guess. But.
So here, for anybody who is joining us and is fresh to the game, here's the issue that we were talking about. So the King of Fighters is not inside of the game because Jasco has announced they officially do not have the license for those cards, right? And so you cannot print a Terry Bogard card in order to give it to the players so that so everybody has a chance to play all of these cards. And so they have deemed that it is an unfair advantage to somebody who already has these cards to jump into this format where these don't exist. It would be in a similar place where if Cowboy Bebop only got shipped to half of the United States and then we said it was in standard. That is essentially what we're saying. Obviously that's a little gray, it's a little different obviously, but like over half of the people that are going to be playing in this format, we're assuming that 600 people are going to be getting into the game because of Cowboy Bebop, because of My Hero Academia. My apologies. 600 people are going to get into the game, and if every single one of those people jumped into Retro, none of them could play KOF. Because Jasco has said we don't have that license. What this tells me two things. Number one, I don't believe that they will be
trying to get it back.
I don't think that's a possibility. I think it's going to cost too much. Jason's not into it. He's not interested in the new game. Yada yada yada. But the second thing this tells me is since they haven't said that all these other things don't matter, that these other products, I think that Jasco might have the license for Mega Man and Darkstalkers back. I know we've had this conversation last night where we're like, hey, they haven't said anything. Maybe they have just said.
As far as I know, they were losing them.
I had 24 hours of thinking. I think this might be them saying without saying that they have it and that they can do these reprints.
The rumor I heard was Capcom was not giving them the time of day because they were busy with their own shit.
Well, they're not busy anymore.
Well, here's the thing: they still are.
Well, okay, so
game companies are still making games.
We
still have to be done.
We can't take anything a rumor. Yeah. We can't take that. Just, my thing's also a rumor. Yeah. So with that said, they're all
it's just a game theory.
Don't you pay Matt Pat 1 cent? Not on my podcast. I love you, Matt Pat. I love you, Matt Pat. I know you're watching this show, so thanks, buddy. I know you're one of our first Patreon subscribers.
Yep, right next to what was it?
Who was it? Donald Glover. That's right. Jesus.
Your aunt, Donald Glover. Yep. Throwback to last night's non-podcast.
So, my big thing with this is what happens whenever we do lose more licenses, right? Let's say in 5 years, Cowboy Bebop gets the same treatment as KOF, and it is no longer inside of the Jasco license, and we no longer can print those cards. Are we also going to just ban the Cowboy Bebop cards from Retro?
What do you do in a year when they might lose the license to Mega Man and Darkstalkers?
Correct. Like this is my biggest issue with Retro as not a concept but as an execution. Right. Is either I agree with you, but I disagree with you. Everything should be legal, or none of it should be legal, right?
That's what I think.
And so I
think a Red Horizon only format would be very cool. Like if they just continued printing Red Horizon as part of like an extended thing.
Did you hear what they're doing to Red Horizon?
No. The comic book thing?
Here's a sidebar for you.
The comic book thing?
Actually, I don't want to talk to James about this. So they're actually, here you go, Tyler, sidebar. They're thinking, this is a big maybe, it was on the last Jaffa's. Yeah. Everybody at home, out of the sidebar, you can get the Jaffa's on Jasco's Facebook page on Fridays. Check it out. I don't know when it goes up. I'm normally asleep when it starts.
I think it's 4. That's the number that comes to my mind.
Man, I hope it's not 4. I'm not sleeping until 4 on Fridays. So they're actually thinking about taking and making the Red Horizon set a community-based set, where the community gets to help them design it. Okay. Yeah, where like they will have like two, like, hey, here's Eva 3 Dot. Yeah. Here are 2 effects that she has. Vote on what she does. Okay. Yeah. Doesn't that sound neat?
That is like the coolest thing on the planet.
I'm super glad we didn't get James Stevens' opinion on this. So, isn't that neat though?
It's really neat.
Yeah, it's neat. I'm not in love with it, but like,
I'm not sure how well it'll work.
As a concept, it's Quinn Mize. Fuck, dude, that's
concept
so cool.
is fucking sick.
Holy shit, that's neat.
I think that's amazing.
As somebody who's tried to design cards and like show them to Ryan Pham and him spit in my face and be like, "You suck, you're terrible." Yeah, I think probably a bunch of kids are bad at this.
The thing. If Ryan Pham is like, "All right, I'm giving you 2 good abilities. Pick which one you like more."
Ooh, okay, all right.
I'm totally cool with that.
I'm back into it.
Like if he gave you a choice between things?
Yeah.
It wasn't build a card, it was pull a card.
Correct. It's a poll.
It was a poll.
I know you weren't in the sidebar. You didn't get to hear any of that. But yeah, it is.
I didn't hear you say poll. I thought you said create.
It is a poll.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Be really cool.
I think that'd be amazing. I think it'd be great for the game.
I wish we had more Red Horizon sets.
We need to get back to retro.
Yeah.
I am. We're talking about Red Horizon.
Anywho, I agree. It's gonna be a little shaky.
For sure.
It's gonna be a little shaky, but I'm excited for it. I'm certainly gonna play in it. Asterisks. I'll commentate at it.
You're commentating anything. You're shilling out for everybody.
Certainly trying. So, my question is the last question I have for the podcast, and we might end up ending it here because I have no idea what time we started.
We also don't even know if anybody's watching right now. Says we're streaming, but no.
Whatever.
I commented since you said something.
I want to talk about prize support. Prize support, tournament structure. How should retro be handled?
I think it should just be standard.
What does that mean?
It just like the format should still be just like standard.
Should be just like standard.
Swiss,
Okay.
Stops.
You said it should be standard. I'm like, fuck retro, just standard. That's what I
Extended standard.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it should work just like standard. I think they should do it more akin to how the old extended formats work, where your champion gets to get an action or a foundation, just the same way like your champion, like for like Worlds and Nats, gets assets or attacks, characters. Yeah, attacks would be cool too.
But one of the mics is disconnected. Will you plug in your mic again?
Is it disconnected or are we just quiet?
I don't know.
Thank you, Hoppy. Appreciate it. I agree with you. I think it needs to be a bigger prize than a different prize than the asset.
Yeah.
And a different prize than the character because they are their own formats.
Yeah.
Standard singles, standard teams, and then single retro.
Yeah.
I don't think you do teams retro.
Nah.
Strictly due to time.
Yeah.
I just don't know when they're gonna like hold this event.
That
would be another question.
I agree. I think the big thing might be that. Excuse me. I think the big thing might be that we need to start making these like. I know it's gonna suck.
I've talked about it.
It should be like a 4-day event.
That's what I've said. That's what I've been saying.
Dude, we should have
Thursday,
them be
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
very, very big.
You should do like extended on retro on Thursdays, teams on Fridays, singles on Saturdays, all tops on Sundays.
So here's the other option that you have,
Okay.
right? Is you keep it the 3-day event.
Okay.
You actually fill up Jasko's support staff. Here's the second genie rub wish, right?
Right.
The first one was KOF exists in retro. The second one is Jasko can staff anybody without paying them.
He's about to waste 3 wishes and not wish for better internet.
Yeah, I know it sucks. But Jasko has enough staff that as top cuts are happening, we can run retro then.
Yeah.
On Sunday, here's all your side events.
What if your top players want to play retro? It has the same champ card.
Don't be so good.
It has a champ card. It should be its own format. For a
I
day.
don't.
You can't give it just like a sidebar event and award it cardboard.
I agree, but disagree with you. Just strictly based on like time scheduling, right? We are doing.
That's why you would have to do 4-day or separate like weekends altogether. I don't think it would be fair as a format to just throw it as a side event.
Do you think the My Hero format should be the same way?
Yeah.
You think it should be its own separate thing?
I think it should not be on the same weekend as PTCs. I don't think they should be I think they should be totally separate.
What if it was man, my issue here is that like if we did make a retro
My issue is just the cardboard. If you're awarding cardboard, it should be a full event. If you're just trying to run like a fun extended event on the side, trying to test retro, I don't give a fuck if it's on a Sunday. I don't care if you do it on a side event. But like, if you're giving the world's greatest prize in gaming,
Yeah.
it should have its own day.
That's fair. I don't have an argument to disagree with you. Right? So, I think I'm trying to think about how other big events do this, right? Because obviously they're doing something correct.
Well, think of a game.
So the one that I know is did you ever go to Yu-Gi-Oh! Nationals?
I have not gone to a Yu-Gi-Oh! Nationals.
Okay. So
I got invited 3 times in 1 year and didn't go.
what they do, you get your invite 3 times and then go?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I quit that year.
Dang. So what they do is they have side events happen on the I want to say just on the last day, but literally it's so many side events, kind of like what Jasco did this year with the turbo.
Yeah.
They
had the draft. They had the small tournament of decks characters, and they had one other one, I think.
They had the giant card.
Giant card event.
Yeah. The way that Yu-Gi-Oh does it is they have 3 giant cards, and it is like a 32-person event, and it gets whittled down. They like the way they did it. It's just on such a huge, big scale. I actually see no issue with giving away cardboard on this 3rd day. Like, I actually don't see an issue because like you're competing for this other thing for the same way. I mean, hold on. Let's take a step back. Let's bring it. Fighting games wouldn't do that, so we shouldn't do it either.
Yeah.
If I go and I top at Evo at Smash Ultimate and Street Fighter 5, I do get to play in my tops for both, and I should be allowed to play in my tops.
Like
for both.
if you go to a Yu-Gi-Oh event and you enter that 32, you're getting the giant card like they handed out last year for the side event.
Yeah.
You're not getting the World Championship cards that they hand out to the winners.
Yeah.
Like you don't get those. You don't get all the prizes that people get in those tops.
Take a step back. What if retro was not a card, but it was like advantage in later tournaments?
Then why would you hold it at the end of a big event?
like the next PTC you go to?
So let's say we get 600 players.
Yeah.
You know how many rounds that's going to be?
12.
Sure. Perfect. It's 12 rounds now. Ryan,
we had
Jason,
8
Tim,
for 100.
if you're listening, it's 12 now. So whenever we take and you go and you win retro, in the next major you go to, you get 2 round 1 wins.
4, 8, 6,
You don't have to show up. You won.
64,
Okay.
120,
So you start your day X2.
256,
Or, XO, going into round 3.
512.
Okay. Sure.
It could be some other prize like that, right? It does not have to be necessary. So like, I am a competitive player. I did not make my top cuts at this
It's
event.
close.
How many?
It's 11.
Oh, okay.
Or it should be 11.
I did not make top cuts at this event, but the next event that I go to, the next major I go to, I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna have a better chance because I just have 2 automatic wins.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that works, but
Yeah.
it could be something along those lines.
11 should
Sure.
get you your...
I don't know.
Like,
I don't want to
like,
hear it anymore.
like a turbo key.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a
It's
question.
in this
like a cheat code.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why would you want another format to influence a different format?
I don't know. I'm just spitballing here.
I just don't like that. That's what I'm saying. It's just like I don't know why you would want retro to influence standard.
I'm once again spitballing, and 2, I believe that this is how like league points work when it comes to so on and so forth. Or maybe okay, here's how you make retro. Here's how you make retro actually matter. Okay, whenever we have our new system, it is actually point based, and whenever we play in major tournaments, when we play in majors, it takes all of the points from all of your previous events, and only in majors, it takes all your points in all your previous events, and that's how it quote unquote seeds you into your first rounds. And so the retro event will put you at a higher seeding because it is a better.
I still don't agree with it strictly on the fact that it's retro and standard.
So here's my comparison, right?
Like if we had a Player of the Year tournament, I'd be down.
Here's my comparison. You ready?
Yeah.
Whenever Mortal Kombat 11 came out on the competitive scene, you've got Sonic Fox, I believe.
Yep.
Yes, that's the best Mortal Kombat 10 player.
Yes.
Do you think he's going to hold the same status as quote unquote the best Mortal Kombat 11 player? Do you think he'll at least be in top 8?
Yeah.
Perfect. There you go. They're 2 separate games. They're 2 separate formats. They're not playing a different game. They're just playing with different controls, different abilities. That's how we could equate it to our game, right? So this is not, these points are not, you are so good at standard, holy shit. It is you are so good at the game. And what this means is
seeding it would be fine.
it's just seeding for all of these events.
As long as it's just seeding, I don't have a huge issue.
What I'm saying is whenever we go into these retro, and we're getting a little super off topic. Whenever we're getting into these like the retro prize support, maybe it is something that affects you as a player as opposed to affects the game. It makes you better. Will you write down another time code for me?
Yep. 152.32.
We've dropped 5 times
Cool.
inside
This
this
isn't accurate.
2 hours.
These timestamps aren't accurate, but
Thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's so. What I'm worried about there is what it would turn into is the more events you play in, the higher seeding you get.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's necessarily what you would want, because then
Go ahead.
it might become you're now playing against better players than you,
Mm-hmm.
but only because you decided to play in a bunch of events instead, because you didn't do
but
good
it's
in the
just
tournament.
the first round. The first
Yeah.
round is usually paired randomly, but now it would be seeded. Essentially, the way you would have to look at it is depending upon like how many events you went to compared to somebody who would be better than
Would
you that
it-
didn't get to.
Would
It's
that,
essentially a first round bye for
Sure,
most
sure.
of the people that are better than their opponents.
would that then say, does that then make this tournament? Does this tournament become more interesting because then right off the bat, all the best players are facing each other, and it scrambles up where they are going to be seated round 2?
No, so it'd be you start with your seeding, which would be ranked in the amount of how many events you showed up,
Right.
which is usually going to be ranked in how well you did at an event and whatnot. Which will
Pause. I actually want to talk about this in the post show. So if you are joining us live, we will write down the timestamp. We will be
I thought it was
talking
just the
about
same
this.
timestamp.
Nope. We will talk about this in the post show. What it means to seed a bracket, because I'm actually really interested and I want to like look up and do some research, and that's going to be not great for the actual show. So, ending thoughts on retro.
I think it's very cool. I didn't say this before, but I think it bringing back old sets that players didn't get to play before because they just weren't in the game yet is a very cool thing to do. I know a lot of people like Mega Man. If Mega Man is in retro, which if your theory is correct, it would be.
Correct. Man, I hope so.
Then
That'd be hype.
all these people that are now getting in because of My Hero can be like, oh, cool, it has Mega Man in it too. Awesome, I'm so down for that. And then old players like get to play with their old cards again. Not all of them, but that's just an unfortunate side effect of it.
For sure.
You don't get the whole cake, but you get some of it.
I agree.
You don't
So
get
with
the
that,
whole coconut.
thank you very much for watching the show. We greatly appreciate it. If you have any thoughts on retro, please leave them down in the comments down below. We would absolutely love to conversate with you. Or if you want to have a more in-depth conversation, like we said, patreon.com/TCG University, $1 level. Get access to the Discord as well as all the extra accoutrements, like seeing the show live whenever our internet works. So, from all of us here at TCG University, thank you very much for watching and stay learned.
Get learned.
Ben learned.
We'll see you guys.